bought this truck and LS swapped it for $2,500. But basically, so bought the FJ60 for $500. Had $600 into the Aces EFI kit, and that was just the basic one oxygen sensor, whatever jackpot kit that they had, standalone kit. The radiator and the fans was $190. That was an eBay purchase. I tried to keep a lot of the stuff not eBay purchase, but that, and then this injector harness adapter to the injectors, because the Aces only came with EV1 or EV6, so I did EV1 to the truck injector harness, and that was $50. That was another eBay purchase. But yeah, I try to not buy too much stuff off of eBay, just because I was trying to keep this not as China made, as one might say. Then that talk about that 6-liter earlier, I got basically $200 off of that, so I'm counting that into the total. So basically saving $200 instead of going to the junkyard and just buying a motor for, I don't know, $500, $600, whatever it is. And then the advanced adapter kit to the Turbo 400, that was $600 after shipping and everything. And a lot of this I think is going to be after shipping. Tires, just happened to have some tires laying around, threw those on it. They held there, so those are good. That didn't cost me anything, just because I happened to have those. Got a spare tire from a buddy of mine, etc. A torque converter, I actually purchased a higher stall speed torque converter because I'm looking at eventually doing that turbo, as I mentioned earlier. And that torque converter cost me $300 right there. So yeah, then I need a flex plate adapter because I did do a Turbo 400. So that, apparently you can use the original 4L80E plate. You just have to drill some holes in it and bolt it. I didn't know that, but you need to buy a spacer anyways. And this is a flex plate adapter I got. I think is advanced adapter as well, and that was $177 off of Summit. The exhaust, total exhaust, cost me just about $600. And that was just because there was a lot of man hours into it. And yeah, and I paid a shop to do that. So realistically, it could have been done for a lot cheaper. Using the factory manifold and stuff would have been a lot cheaper, and just running it out wherever down below or out the side would have been a lot cheaper. But I needed to bring them over as a cross pipe for a turbo setup later on, and I wanted to dump out the side of the fender. So man hours into that cost. I had to buy a new motor mount. I'm going to throw stuff like that in there, just because there's, every LS swap's going to be different. I did have 2 motor mounts, but one of them was garbage, so I had to buy a new one. And I'm sure you could get one for cheaper as well, but I just went to Napa and bought a new one. Fuel pressure regulator, I thought I was going to need that, but apparently the truck manifold has zone in it, so I ended up not using that, so I zeroed that guy out. The starter, I got a starter, basically a return starter from Speedway or somebody, and so they gave it to me at a pretty good rate for $110. So a new mini starter in there. I had to buy a coil pack because there was 2 coils missing off of eBay, and that cost me $2,500. I got a couple extra plug wires with that as well, so that was cool. Oh, I also needed to buy a transfer case gasket kit because this advanced adapter kit did not come with it, because I bought that from some guys and it had been gone through. So yeah, I had to buy new gaskets. Anyways, a throttle cable, I actually got a killer deal on that because the throttle cable was from a CarQuest that was going or they were doing a blowout sale, so I got a bunch of stuff for like killer prices on that. The fuel pump I happened to get from an old car that I was going to use it on, but I ended up not using it, and so I got it for free because it was supposed to be a return or something that never happened, and I got my money back, so that worked out pretty well. I need to buy an EGR plate. That was another eBay one. That's stuff that I think eBay stuff is okay with, like that aluminized EGR block off plates and stuff. because I mean, what's the difference between an eBay one and some expensive dude for like $50? Yeah. Anyways, power steering line. I needed to buy a new. I need to set that up because going from the LS to the Toyota power steering, obviously the ends were different, so I got the new ends and stuff. That only cost me $13, which was cool. Oh, I already had the starter in here. What the heck? I have starter on here twice. Hey, nice. That means I can take $100 off this. I just realized that. Okay, well, cancel that, dude. So I just saved $100 right there. I had a couple random stuff I ordered from Summit, so I just threw that in there. That order was like $123. I can't remember what that stuff was. For the Turbo 400, I needed to purchase a shifter kit, linkage. I had like $11 worth of linkage. Other parts, which was like I'm trying to remember what I bought for that thing. The vacuum modulator, some vacuum line. Oh, and the little rod that goes in to shift gears for you. I had to buy one of those. The T-case linkage. Trying to think of. I had to buy to actually make it work with the transmission. I had to basically buy a new bolt, run some stuff, make that work. I still need to do a little bit more work to it because I keep popping out of four-wheel drive into two-wheel drive. So I got to figure that out still, but whatever. It runs and drives for now. So other random Amazon orders, about $20 worth. The air filter was another one. I had $40 into that guy. That was a Spencer, I think, one. It seems to be working pretty good. And then I just decided to throw in just to round it up to. Actually, I should have just left that starter in there because now we're at $2,400. But let's say just randomly, let's say I had $450 worth of stuff I forgot about. That's kind of what that was. And well, now we're sitting at $2,500 still. Now, how I got to this number, I'm going to show you guys real quick because none of this actually adds up. It should be like a lot more than that. However, so the realistic number total spent was $3,800. However, let me explain myself here. If we come down, I had another list of stuff down here because remember there's just extra stuff I'm not counting. There was it had a running 2F engine, so I ended up selling that for $800. I sold the transmission for $100. Ignition, some guy bought that. I advertised most of all this stuff on Marketplace and stuff. I sold my power steering pump for $80. The ignition stuff for $150. The carburetor and the carb plate for $100. I had a guy who wanted to buy a smog pump. He never got back to me, so whatever. I sold the alternator, which was like a new alternator, for $75. And actually, I've got a guy who wants to buy the air filter, whatever it's called, the box or the for the carburetor. I can't think of the name of that, but anyways, the air filter intake, whatever thing where the air filter sits. He wants to buy that for $50. So I am getting money back as we go. I sold most of this stuff pretty quick, so right now I'm basically sitting at $1,300 worth of stuff that I sold. So throwing that into the mix, yeah, we're sitting at $2,400, and you can see I added that in down here. Not that stuff. Right here. So this is B98 right here. So that basically has me sitting at $2,500 into this build, and that's with throwing that extra $450 in at the end. One thing you guys might be wondering is this Turbo 400. Well, most people are probably gonna have to buy a transmission. You could stick with I could have stuck with the factory 4-speed that was in the Landcruiser, but ended up having a Turbo 400 that was laying around. My dad had it. stuffed in a crate for like 40 years, since 1984, 85. And so he basically wasn't going to use it. So I took off the transfer case that was on that, and I've got it for sale right now for $1,000. So, or for $1,500, sorry. And I got people hitting me up on that. So it's all kind of a wash on that one, I'm going to call it, just because that Turbo 400 didn't cost me anything. So I guess I'll throw that in here. So there's that. But that is how I ended up getting to $2,500, and that's a realistic number. If you're not gonna be parting stuff out, yeah, you're gonna be spending probably $4,000 on buying a truck, swapping it, whatever, because nobody else is looking at all your fuel lines, all your whatever, different gasket kits, your actual throttle cable. Even though I kind of set that up kind of janky, it works. Power steering lines, etc. Yeah, if you're spending $200 on a brand new fuel pump, yeah, that cost is going to go up. But a vehicle that you purchased, you might have other valuable things on it that you can sell, like this Landcruiser. You know, I was able to sell the engine and transmission like immediately, because I called some people for some parts, and they were going, "Oh, hey, I'll buy that engine for you for $800 right off the bat." So back to the Landcruiser. There was a bunch of stuff that I was trying to remember what I did, but didn't end up costing too much. I mean, stuff like this wastegate, like obviously I'm not going to count that into the build because this is for my turbo. It's not for actually swapping an LS in. So stuff like that doesn't really matter to me, at least on this like calculation. But stuff like, I just ended up using this AC condenser as the transmission cooler. All I needed was just cut the original AC line so it would plug into itself here, and find a hose and hose clamp that would fit over it, and then run it to the transmission. Stuff like that. So just keeping it on the super cheap. I mean, even like this little battery hold down, this custom battery hold down, it's just the governor cover on the Turbo 400, since I didn't need it anymore, because I had the other thing for the actual transfer case linkage. I just use it as a battery hold down. So stuff like that, just keeping it on the super cheap. I am gonna register it and insure it, so it will be street legal. I'm not gonna change out, you know, get new covers for it or anything. Like for the tourniqueter, I just use an amber bulb, a 3 little LED in there for the driving light, and the headlights still work. So nothing too serious on this. But yeah, just keeping it cheap, keeping it on the low. But I think that's basically going to kind of wrap it up on this video. If you guys are interested in the actual build of this thing, I've got a whole series. It's just the FJ60 LS Swap series. But yeah, I'm curious now. I'm thinking basically it's going to be what's going to break first, the Chevy or the Toyota. I've got stuff like gear oil leaking out and whatnot, but I don't know. We'll see. Apparently these Toyotas are pretty beefy, so we'll see if it can handle a V8 aside from the original 6-cylinder. But yeah, cool. On that note, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments for stuff on your swap. Hopefully I can try to point you in the right direction and whatnot. But yeah, again, thanks for watching, and hope you guys have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next one.